Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here with another tea to explore together to see if this is going to be a favorite tea of yours in the future, if you haven't already tried it before. Another way to use, as you're watching a tea review, you could always purchase the tea yourself, taste along, see if there's anything see if you pick up the same nuances that I do or that others do. Scooping out enough here, it's going to be easier, I think, to just kind of use my fingers. I want to scoop out enough or pinch out enough here to cover the bottom inch to inch and a half diameter of my gaiwan. It's about 3-ounce gaiwan. You want to have, of course, clean fingers that are free of any kind of perfumes or fragrances that might affect the tea as well. So that looks good. My water's been brought to an early boil so that it's rumbled, but not a full rolling boil. And I want to add enough water. A little bit's going to rest above the rim of my lid, and that's going to prevent some air getting in. And if you leave tea out in the air for too long, it changes color. So I want to avoid any kind of color change, any kind of excessive aeration at this point. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this time now to introduce this tea. This is from Cha, which is a Taiwanese tea company. A nice play on words. Eco is the English ECO, environmental. You're thinking about all that. In Chinese, E as in one, ko, mouth, or one sip of tea. So a nice, clever way to bridge the gap in the two languages there. 50 grams available for this red jade black tea, or more traditionally Chinese would be referred to as a red tea. $19 for this 50 grams. This is a summer 2012 harvest. You can find out more about this particular tea and about Cha on their website, eco-cha.com. Cha makes special efforts to go to smaller producers, connect us all really more to the farmers, the origins, the land itself, the tea itself, the tea plants. So information you can find. This is summer 2012 harvest. This is the Hongyu, or number 18 as it's often referred to, maybe more particularly in Taiwan. The number 18 cultivar. Information also says that this particular farmer is a prize-winning producer. He has won awards, competitions for his teas, and that he often is, or it's described as, using little to no. He avoids fertilizers and pesticides. So you can't say it's officially organic, but there's a lot of organic practices going on with this farmer and this particular kind of tea. So that said, I'm going to set this aside, and this can steep a little bit longer. I can go ahead and talk a little bit about this tea. I'm talking about here the dry leaf first. Let me get a smell of the aromas here. There is, with this particular tea, the Hongyu, the red jade, the number 18, some characteristics. There is a noticeable wintergreen, menthol, the bismuth, as in Pepto-Bismuth kind of smell there. There are those bright, fresh, again, invigorating kind of notes going on here. And that's probably the dominant note going on here. Okay, you can get some subtle sweetness there as well. So let me pull out a few of these leaves again. Pinching them is probably going to be the more convenient way at this point. Scooping out a few of these leaves and looking at them, these are the dark bister type of color, moving more towards a darker blackish brown, or a very deep gray, even gray bordering on black. Individual leaves wrapped along the middle vein of the leaf, leaves that are at least 1.5 inches in most cases, 2 inches, sometimes 2.5, 3 even. Leaves quite intact. not thick, heavy, leathery looking leaves, but thinner, or at least tightly wrapped leaves. So those are positive notes. Tightly wrapped leaves, I try not to spill any more of this, tightly wrapped leaves often mean that your first steeping of a tea, or during steeping, the leaves will slowly, relatively slowly, open up, unfurl, release their character, so that you're able to either get more out of a subsequent steep, or that you're able to unlock layers within the tea. So I'm going to set that aside and pour this, and then be able to talk about the wet leaf. Angle my lid over to the side. It's going to be a nice steeping. Okay. Longer steep times often mean you're going to be able to pull out more characteristics of a tea, whether that's the positive characteristics, the strengths, and the potential weaknesses that may be in a tea. Let me give that a shake and the smell of the aroma here. Still the wintergreen, the bismuth type notes coming out to the fore. So it's a nice wintry, wintergreen, minty type of sweetness there going on. You can get a bit of a note of a sweet wood going on, again more kind of like a cedar, perhaps a bit of a cinnamony type note going on underneath those other stronger components. Okay, now let me pull out a few of these leaves to look at them. Get that little bit of a leaf out of there. It's not representative of what's largely going on in this particular steep, Guy 1 steep here. What you do see more of are large leaves like this one, fairly gentle, fairly delicate. They've got some elasticity. I'm not just ripping it apart, but it feels thin in between the thumb and the finger there. So let me set that down. Move on to another. You say that this leaf was mostly intact. There was a little bit of the very tip end of the leaf that broke off. The oxidation, the blotchiness, the color of the rust red and the deeper red aspects is more consistent, fairly thorough. It's not blotchy. It's patterns going throughout the leaf. So that indicates a fairly consistent process of oxidation on these leaves. Let me pull out one more. This one's not easily and fully unfurling. It requires a little bit more of a gentle hand, or it's going to completely unfurl. I don't want to force it, so I'm not going to. I don't want to tear it, so I'm not going to force it. But that's a nice leaf. Again, consistency, patterns, consistent spread of oxidation across or over these leaves. Still those strong wintergreen type notes coming off there. Give that a swirl. Hold that up to the light. Deep red, almost deeper than copper type of colors there. Rich looking, dark. Let me give this a smell. Again, the minty notes still at the top. A bit of a cinnamony, sandalwood, maybe cedar coming off underneath that lighter. Strong aromatics, strong taste coming out. Now, this particular tea, swirling it around in your mouth, you often, with a lot of your black teas, you're expecting, if you're, say, comparing it to a tea bag tea, you expect a bit of a briskness, a pop there. You expect more drying going on. This one is a much softer. It's got less astringency, so it's not so drying in the mouth. It's not as brisk. It's smoother, softer on the tongue. Still pronounced aromatics hitting towards the front. Fairly extended, still have some now. Aftertaste, brown syrup type of brown sugar syrupy type of feel. Back of the tongue, underneath the back of the tongue. Whereas this almost sticky type of feeling is building up, a sticky sweet kind of sensation there. I'll give it one more shot here as it kind of cools a little bit. See what changes may take place with temperature change. Yeah, so still a bit smoother now. The texture is beginning to get to fill out, get more powdery, silken as it spreads around the mouth. So this tea has some nuances that build as the temperature drops a little bit. Something to consider. Don't just, may not want to just slurp it all down at once. Nice components to this tea as a red jade example. I would give this one a 90. Nice components, something to, again, pull and tease out those elements. Do you want the stronger aromas? The aroma may have actually dropped a little bit, or at least balanced out better as this tea cooled a little bit. Something to think about. So consider that as you look at this tea and other teas from Walker Tea Review.